Samuel the Seeker. By Upton Sinclair. Narrated by Jason Smith. Chapter 1. Samuel, said old Ephraim, seek, and ye shall find. He had written these words upon the little picture of Samuel's mother, which hung in that corner of the old attic which served as the boy's bedroom, and so Samuel grew up with the knowledge that he, too, was one of the seekers. Just what he was to seek, and just how he was to seek it, were matters of uncertainty. They were part of the search. Old Ephraim could not tell him very much about it, for the seekers had moved away to the west before he had come to the farm, and Samuel's mother had died very young, before her husband had a chance to learn more than the rudiments of her faith. So all that Samuel knew was that the seekers were men and women of fervor, who had broken with the churches because they would not believe what was taught, holding that it was every man's duty to read the word of God for himself and to follow where it led him. Thus the boy learned to think of life, not as something settled, but as a place for adventure. One must seek, and in the end the way of truth would be revealed to him. He could see this zeal in his mother's face, beautiful and delicate, even in the crude picture, and Samuel did not know that the picture was crude, and wove his dreams about it. Sometimes at twilight old Ephraim would talk about her, and the tears would steal down his cheeks. The 1 year that he had known her had sufficed to change the course of his life, and he had been a man past middle life, too, a widower with 2 children. He had come into the country as the foreman of a lumber camp back on the mountain. Samuel had always thought of his father as an old man. Ephraim had been hurt by a vicious horse, and had aged rapidly after that. He had given up lumbering. It had not taken long to clear out that part of the mountains. Now the hills were swept bare, and the population had found a new way of living. Samuel's childhood life had been grim and stern. The winter fell early upon the mountain wilderness, the lake would freeze over, and the roads block up with snow, and after that they would live upon what they had raised in the summer, with what Dan and Adam, Samuel's half-brothers, might bring in from the chase. But now all this was changed and forgotten, for there was a hotel at the end of the lake, and money was free in the country. It was no longer worth while to reap the hay from the mountain meadows. It was better to move the family into the attic and take boarders. Some of the neighbors even turned their old corncribs into sleeping shacks, and advertised in the city papers, and were soon blossoming forth in white paint and new buildings, and were on the way to having hotels of their own. Old Ephraim lacked the cunning for that kind of success. He was lame and slow, tending toward stoutness, and having a film over one eye, and Samuel knew that the boarders made fun of him even while they devoured his food and took advantage of him. This was the first bitterness of Samuel's life, for he knew that within
Sample complete. Ready to continue?